one of the organizers of the Canadian Freedom Trucker protests is now pushing his own cryptocurrency. And it really does kind of show you how desperate this group is starting to get for money. So first, let's take a look at what they're pushing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a short window right now. We have a short window that we need to get all the truckers' information out. We need to get everybody out 100% in 6 days to initiate all the tokens to all the truckers. So transport drivers that were part of the convoy and are still part of the ongoing occupation, well, I would say peaceful protest in Ottawa, not the occupation. That's the wrong choice of word. That's the lefties' choice of words. We need you guys to start helping us with the FCT coin. We need to get the truckers onto freedomconvoytoken.com so that we can get these truckers registered and give them their free money. And this is just a 100% amazing thing that some great people put together for the opportunity for everybody to have a little piece of I guess freedom is what we're trying to sell here. We're selling freedom.
We're selling freedom. Yes. Yes, that's exactly. Yeah. Sure. You're selling freedom. Yeah. Now, let me just go back to what he said earlier in that video as well. He's like, occupation. Oh, I didn't call it an occupation. No, it's not an occupation. It's a peaceful protest. The left is calling it an occupation. Oh, yeah. Really? All right. Fascinating. Incredibly fascinating here. So, but here we are. It's gotten to a point where he's literally pushing crypto. What's next? A trucker NFT? Oh, that'll be the day. That'll be the day. All right. So now that was Pat King. Now he's one of the controversial organizers of this Freedom Convoy. So now I say controversial, but they're all controversial. All the organizers here. Now, let's leave aside the fact that none of them who organize this thing are actually truckers at all. Isn't that amazing? For one, we're going to organize a trucker protest, but we're not truckers at all. Interesting. So I'm going to actually give you the background of some of these people. Now, King, of course, has he's had a history of protesting, being a counter-protester to anti-racism rallies. Well, that would mean that you're pro-racism, wouldn't it? If you're protesting against anti-racism, what does that make you? I'm just asking. I'm asking questions here. What about spreading, of course, COVID-19 disinformation? Of course, that's par for the course. But then, he's also been caught on video. Actually, not caught on video. He's put out these videos where he's basically spreading the great replacement conspiracy theory. That they're replacing us with us, right? With immigrants. Oh, great. Now, he also said back in December about the mandates and vaccines, he says, this is the only way this is going to be solved is with bullets. Just to show you where he's at. So now it's not just King, there are others. One of the other lead organizers of the convoy is named James Bowder. James Bowder, unsurprisingly, QAnon conspiracy theorist. Shocker. Thinks that Donald Trump won 2020. Why would he care? He's Canadian. And of course, his push lies about COVID-19. Tamara Lich, which is the protest fundraiser, is the secretary for a right-wing Canadian separatist party formerly known as Wexit Canada, and now is the Maverick Party. Jason LaFace, Canada Unity's Ontario organizer and official representative of the Freedom Convoy, is also a main organizer for something called No More Lockdowns Canada. All right, that seems on par. They're an anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine mandate organization that's associated with a expelled Ontario MPP named Randy Hillier. And so, again, that's a right-wing figure. Benjamin Dichter, who's listed as an organizer in the Freedom Convoy's GoFundMe page, claims that political Islam has infiltrated the Conservative Party of Canada. and is rotting away at their society like syphilis. So obviously you have anti-Muslim sentiment is there. Convoy leader Dave Steenberg had posted material by a group called the Soldiers of Odin. Now, who are the Soldiers of Odin? Turns out they're neo-Nazis. They're a neo-Nazi vigilante page. On his Facebook page, LaFace, going back to him, he's also an administrator of the Convoy Facebook page and has done the same thing. LaFace has posted a photo of himself wearing a Soldiers of Odin jacket. So now, in case you're wondering here, yes, these are right-wing conspiracy theorists and neo-Nazis. Now, what they're doing is they're using legitimate pandemic fatigue. Look, we're all tired of it, right? Yes, we're tired of mandates. We're tired of, having to wear the mask, and we're tired of all that stuff. We're tired of COVID. But the only way that we're going to get over COVID is to get as many people vaccinated as possible. That way we can actually end all that stuff. But here's the thing, right? I don't really think that they're against particularly mandate. Yes, they are, right? That's what they're protesting against. But I think what they're doing is they're using legitimate pandemic fatigue to then try to recruit people over to the right wing, like a pipeline. So now what are their real goals, right? What do they really want from this other than an end to the vaccine and mask mandates? Well, apparently they would like to dissolve the Canadian government and arrest Justin Trudeau. Now, of course, if you're going to do that, you're going to need cash. And you're going to need lots of people on your side. Shocker, right? Now, interestingly enough, they have some, well, I was going to say interesting friends, but these are just dangerous people. Now, one of the people that was at the protest in Ottawa is Romana Didulo. You know who that is? I never heard of her before, but apparently she's the Queen of Canada. The self-anointed Queen of Canada. Now, it would be hilarious. However, she called on her literally 73,000 Telegram followers to murder healthcare workers, just to shoot them. Not so funny anymore, is it? No. Now, am I saying that these people represent the entirety of the movement? No, I'm not saying that. I can't say for sure. But I do know that these people do not represent the attitudes of most Canadians or even most truckers. Now, I've cited polling in other videos. 70% of Canadians, for example, support the mandates. Nearly 2/3 oppose the Freedom Convoy. And you have another poll that just came out on Monday from New Angus Reid Institute. They found that 72% of Canadians want the truckers to go home. End it. End it. Now, they also, in that same poll, about 2/3 of Canadians polled say that, yes, Trudeau's response to this was dumb and actually made the situation worse. And so there's criticism of Trudeau. I have plenty of criticism of Trudeau. Again, I think the Emergency Powers Act is way too much. I think police are not doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. Big surprise there because they're mainly on the side of the Freedom Truckers. And so, I think going after them with the military and things like that, generally not in favor of that, right? I would like a peaceful resolution to this. And so do the so do the Canadian people. Now, there's more. Speaking of the truckers, right? As for the vast majority of them, 85% of the members of the Canadian Truckers Alliance are vaccinated. The organization itself, according to spokespeople, do not support the convoy. Another group, Teamsters Canada, who represents more than 55,000 professional drivers, including approximately 15,000 long-haul truckers, 90% are vaccinated. They said that the protest says this, quote, serves to delegitimize the real concerns of most truck drivers today. The statement said that the convoy and the despicable display of hate led by the political right and shamefully encouraged by elected conservative politicians does not reflect the values of Teamsters Canada. The Private Motor Truck Council of Canada noted concern about the convoy's racist remarks, citing the comparisons to Nazis and communism. The Atlantic Provinces Trucking Association and British Columbia Trucking Association also criticized the protest. The Canadian Labour Congress called the protest in Ottawa, quote, an occupation by an angry mob trying to disguise itself as a peaceful protest. And various trucking companies have tried to distance themselves from the convoy, claiming that the vehicles are owner-operated despite featuring their logos. That's what these groups that represent truckers actually do think about this. So, look, I'm going to say, once again, this movement is not about freedom. This movement is not about helping the working class. This is nothing more than a right-wing extremist group that cosplays at being for the workers. And they do so in order to, and they're playing it once again on something that's very real, pandemic fatigue. They want to use this situation to pipe normies, normal people, and people who consider themselves to be on the left over to the far right. That's the whole purpose of this entire thing. And now think about it this way. When you're on the side of neo-Nazis, separatists, anti-vaxxers, and police, because when you look at the differences here and how this protest is treated versus indigenous protests, for example, in Canada, you start to notice, and by the way, water protectors as well, they've treated them with kids' gloves, whereas indigenous people send in the police. They go and they crush these protests by indigenous people, but when it comes to the truckers, they don't lay a glove on them unless they're forced to. That's the thing. You're going to be on the side of the police. Now, the other side, of course, of this situation isn't the left, right? No, it's the people that want to get everybody vaccinated and put the pandemic behind us. That's what we want to do. We want people to stop dying. Now, one more thing for lefties that support this. I'm no fan of Trudeau or Joe Biden. And I'm also not a fan of giving the state more power to crush protests. What do you think you're doing by allying with people on the right? You're giving them more power and more justification to take more power. And of course, they're going to use that against the left. You're helping establishment liberals like Trudeau get more power, take more emergency actions. This entire emergency action thing, once again, it goes beyond the scope of what they're actually dealing with in Canada right now. And Trudeau is more establishment lib than you could ever get. And he invoked that Emergency Act and now, again, is using those emergency powers. That's a dangerous precedent to set. And they're still, of course, doing kids' gloves against these protesters. But see, you might think that you're doing solidarity. Understand, when is the right, and let me ask you a question actually, when has the right wing ever come to defend left-wing protests? Were they there when Obama was crushing Standing Rock? Were they in solidarity with George Floyd and the protests there? Were they with Occupy Wall Street? No, these right-wing groups are always on the other side. They're on the side of the people that are crushing us. They will always be. In every single one of these instances, these groups are either silent or they're on the side of the oppressor. It makes no sense to ally with them at all. By the way, from these right-wing groups that have infiltrated into police, by the way, and government, they have made it legal to run over Black Lives Matter protesters in a lot of states in this country, in America. No, it's ridiculous for someone who's on the left to support these truckers. All it is a pipeline to take people from the left, stick them in the far right. That's all it is. Know who your allies are before you trust your back to someone who's more than likely going to put a knife in it for their own gain. That's who these people are.